Continuing the last episode, I'm going to cover the rest of the violin bow techniques today. The fourth group consists of one bow stroke, Collé. Collé means glued in French. It is a very short stroke. It begins on the string with the bow lightly contacting the string with a distinct, short, and sharp pinch. The bow is then lifted to prepare for the next stroke. The resulting sound was described by Ivan Galamian as being similar to pizzicato with the bow. It is a finger-dominant stroke. The wrist and arm are not involved. It starts from the string. It sounds similar, right? Although Collé usually has no articulation markings, dots are sometimes used. There are not many repertoire which include long passage of pure Collé, where you play with the exclusive finger movement. It is still the essential bow technique. After you master the Collé, it will be easier to learn other bow techniques, such like Spiccato, flying Spiccato, and Sautillé. There are a few ways to practice Collé. First, put your right hand against a table. This way, it immobilizes the movement of your wrist and arm, so you can focus on your finger movement. Let's do it together. One completely stretched movement and one completely bended movement, including your thumb. Second, put fingers back to the bow and do a vertical and then horizontal exercise with the same finger movement that we just did. Third, put your violin back on and let's play some open strings and then scales. Let's start from the middle part of the bow. Fingers stretch on a down bow and fingers bent on an up bow. Use very little bow, like 1 centimeter, and focus on your finger movement. Afterwards, let's play this exactly same thing in the lower part of the bow. Next, string crossing. I will play an example from Mazar's Etude number 3 in the next slide. Remember, your arm should anticipate for changing to different levels of the strings. In conclusion, Collé is a very short stroke, like a pizzicato with the bow, and it is formed by the finger movement only. However, you can use the Collé starting movement and then expand it to other strokes. For example, after you catch the string and you don't release all the pressure immediately, and your bow stays on the string longer, thus the bow stroke will be longer too. It is important to learn Collé because it creates the foundation of great articulation. The fifth group consists of spiccato, flying spiccato, and sautillé. Spiccato is a technique that uses a bowing style that leaves the string clearly to produce a light bouncing sound. You play the notes in short lengths and let the bow naturally bounce off the string. Your hand and the wrist needs to be relaxed and flexible. Find a good bouncing point. Each bow is different. Please explore different spots of your bow and find the best spots to bounce. The contact point should neither be too close to the fingerboard or bridge. Something between. You can start playing the spiccato from the middle of the bow. Here is my approach to learn how to play spiccato. We just learned how to play the Collé stroke. First, let's play a few. Second, gradually shorten the pause between each stroke. Remove the beginning sharp and pinch sound, and then get faster and faster until every stroke is completely connected to each other. The higher your bow is off the string, the slower you get. The closer the bow is off the string, the faster you get. The difference between Collé and spiccato is that we use the exclusive finger movement for Collé, while we add a bit hand and wrist movement for spiccato. Don't need to be deliberate. Let the natural bouncing of the bow and the finger movement drive your hand and wrist to move along with. I will always start the very first spiccato on the string for clarity purpose. It is particularly important in orchestra playing. If everyone in your section starts the spiccato off the string, then there must be a problem with the ensemble, and the sound will not be clean. In conclusion, spiccato is a not too fast and a fully controlled stroke, which involves your finger, hand, and wrist. The arm should not be involved. In order to practice the flexibility of your wrist, I have found the following exercise helpful. Check out the etude number 21 and 39 by Mazas. Flying spiccato is when a number of short notes are played all in one bow, and the bow bounces for each note. It is usually not very fast. You play each note on the same spot of the bow, which means your hand and wrist are making a small circle in the air to go back to the original starting point for each note. Collé is a great preparation for playing the flying spiccato. Here is an example of the third movement from Mendelssohn's E minor violin concerto. There are two things that I observed. First, if you use the whole head of the bow and lift off the string very high to play the flying spiccato, the sound is very harsh, like this. If you tilt your bow and lift off the string not too high, then the sound is much gentle and warmer. Second, It is very natural and attempted to rush during the flying spiccato because you are playing a succession of up-bow strokes starting from the same spot always. Practicing with the metronome definitely helps. Sautillé is a bow stroke played rapidly in the middle of the bow, one bow stroke per note, so that the bow bounces very slightly off the string. It is much faster and shorter than spiccato. There are a lot of schools, methods teaching how to play sautillé. Among them, I find this approach being the most logical and effective one. Put your bow on the tip and do very fast short strokes like tremolo with fortissimo dynamics. You will use a lot of pressure from your right hand to play in order to make it loud. Then gradually move your bow to the middle and do a diminuendo in dynamics. Keep the same speed and length of your short stroke. While you are doing a diminuendo and moving your bow towards the middle part, you also need to lift up some pressure since you are trying to play softer and lighter. Whether you believe or not, by the time you arrive the middle of your bow and towards the end of your diminuendo, the bow naturally starts to bounce itself and you are making a sautillé. Comparing to spiccato, which I play it with full control of my fingers, hand, and wrist, I play sautillé with semi-control, or you can call semi-passive movement, because it is very fast. Just like the spiccato, your arm is not involved in sautillé stroke. You will notice that the notation for spiccato, staccato, and sautillé are exactly the same, which is a dot on the note. It is your job to distinguish which one you should play according to different musical context, genre, style, and composers. If it is confusing, the conductor or your sectional leader will clarify it with you. There are another two bow techniques which are not used as often as the ones that we just discovered above. But you still need to know how to play them in orchestra sight reading. They are Col Legno and Ricochet. Col Legno means with wood in Italian. You turn the bow upside down and you play with the wood. When everyone is playing Col Legno together, the effect is powerful. Here is an example of Mars from Holst's planet. Ricochet consists of throwing the bow on the string in the upper third of the bow on a dumbbell so that it bounces and produces a series of rapid notes. You sometimes see jeté on the music, which means the same thing in French. You initiate the first note and let the rest of the notes bounce on their own. 2 tips. First, your right wrist should not bend. It should be opposite. If you bend, it sounds this. If you do the opposite, it's much easier to bounce. Second, use more hairs from the bow. If you tilt your bow, it will be harder to make the ricochet. If you use more bow hair, it bounces much more. Let's do the preparation exercise together. Throw the bow as hard as you can on any notes and let the bow bounce. Try to feel and enjoy the natural bow bouncing. Is it amazing to make so many notes by the bow itself? After you are used to it, then we need to learn how to control the ricochet, just like we need to control the vibrato. Both of them should never be wild and uncontrolled. I have written an exercise for you in the next slide. You can pause for practicing purpose. And try to practice with the metronome to keep the tempo consistent. If the up bow and the down bow's ricochet are connected together, then we are getting the flying ricochet, which is also called the jumping arpeggio. You can practice open strings first. 2 tips. I give a little accent on the first note of both up bow and down bow to get more clarity. For the rest of the notes, I let the bow bounce by itself. My arm is anticipating and adjusting to different levels of the strings. The second tip is I don't tilt my bow. I play with the full head of the bow. It is easier to bounce. Let's practice from slow to fast. In order to achieve the evenness of each note, I suggest you to use metronome. A famous example of the flying ricochet is the cadenza from the first movement of Mendelssohn's E minor violin concerto. summary, we have covered the rest of the bow strokes and techniques today. There are a lot of things to remember. Here are some important points. Ballet and staccato are on the string. Collé starts on the string and then left off the string. Spiccato, Sautillé, and Ricochet are off the string. Col Legno can be on or off the string, although the later one is more common. Staccato is shorter than Ballet. Pure Collé is very short. Sautillé is faster than Spiccato. This is the last episode of the series of the essential violin techniques for orchestra sight reading. I have covered the following topics: how to choose right fingerings, shifting, vibrato, harmonics, pizzicato, and 22 different articulations and bow strokes. It is my pleasure to share some violin techniques with you. I hope they are helpful to your next sight reading in the orchestra. Lastly, I want to give thanks to 3 people: Junior Lopez, who initiated the idea of making this series of educational videos; Joseph Meyer and Brian Reagan, who gave me valuable suggestions and advice during the research. Thank you.